Still, we can't get too carried away about the Masters tournament. We still have plenty to see in a tournament here at Honor and Arms, where we are ahead of schedule, and it's likely that the 12 versus 12 will be finished in about 40 minutes or so, perhaps less. There will be a 5-minute break between the fights, as of course you'll have some teams who will be fighting consecutively, and that's a great charge there from both teams to get stuck into each other in a very, very central line. There are clinches on the sides, and I think Primus will do well to take part in those. And you can see the fighter Barney, and there's already one Primus fighter down. However, that is easily seen by the Primus fighter coming in from the center, who charges in but is smothered by White Company. And there's another fighter who comes down, and a weapon has been lost, giving Primus a chance to get involved quite quickly and push the White Company fighter right to the back. Remember that Primus do have the advantage in numbers, but White Company, with all the experience, and in fact a White Company fighter I think will be grounded, having lost some great pressure there from the White Company captain Lukasz Kowal at the bottom of the list. White Company now in control of this, and the fight has been called. So that's sort of getting between the fighter and the list. So it will be within Primus' interest to try to get around them on the other side. But if you look at the fighters that they are trying to get behind, there's already some great movement from White Company. Again in the middle, fighter is stalked down, and there is a lot of strength from the Invicta and Primus fighters, although there's pushing down on the right hand side of the list, as you can see, and a fighter has already been grounded from Primus. A great charge coming in, however, from the Primus fighters, and the marshals warning the fighters to get down and stay down. There are a few grounded fighters from both sides, in fact, and there is a great clinch at the back, a huge thump in the bottom left hand corner of the list as the fighter crashes to the ground. But in the bottom side, it's quite hard to make out exactly what is happening. It's in the bottom there, but the White Company fighters are making use of this space and helping out their teammates. So you can see the loose White Company fighter in red, who is going to assist in putting a lot of pressure down on the Primus fighter, one of whom actually gets loose, but they do put the other one down. The Invicta fighter has a, oh no, in fact, that's where the White Company fighter has a breakage of his armor, therefore is grounded. So it's an advantage to White Company. Their big thumb there doesn't quite make the connection, and that's a great takedown there on the left by White Company against the Invicta fighter for Primus. So that means that the victory will go to White Company. Fighters all lined up with pole arms, and I think if they break through that, and there's an early rush from the Primus fighters, a great clash that they get into from the start there. There's already a Primus fighter who has gone down, and that's great teamwork from the ACG fighters and good movement coming from the back to go down at the same time on the left-hand side of the list. And Primus not showing the same aggression that they did in their 5 versus 5. But this is very good work from Gloucester, and two of their fighters are taken down, and there seems to be a trip there. Some unfortunate footing there from the Primus fighters. But at this point, as things get closer, I do fancy the chances of Combat Gloucester and Three Towers, who have some issues of communication, but they're in good position now. Again, the Gloucester fighters are able to choose their clinches that they go into with the polearms, and this is where they will be most effective. Big strides coming down, and they have the advantage of more fighters fielded. Again, another issue of the larger fighter 12 versus 12 is when you have fighters on the ground, they do create problems for clinches moving back and forth. So a lull in the action means that they can readjust their positions. As you can see, it is in just two corners of the list at the moment. It's hard to see in the left-hand corner, but There are two Primus fighters who are caged in there. It's impossible to see them on the left, whereas you have a single fighter on the right. So an advantage here for ACG, and Three Towers as one of the Primus fighters breaks loose on the right and takes a charge for it. And that's a great move! Superb takedown there. And very, very impressive work. And that is called... I don't think it should be. And that is... Okay, the fighters have been counted. Yes, of course, they were. The fighters down. Marshall has counted them. And there was a great takedown at the end there. However, the Primus fighter was surrounded by ACG and Three Towers. So we go into round 2 of Primus Invicta versus ACG and Three Towers. And again, another aggressive start. Primus now pushing ACG and Three Towers right back. And so big movement, there'll be some takedowns in the middle, I suspect. And yes, there's an ACG fighter who has gone down in the middle there. There are a few bodies in the center, which is going to create real problems. So nice movement and great aggression shown by the Three Towers fighter to the right of the screen. But it is matched and evened out. And although the blows are quite sluggish, he's still taking strikes to the head. On the middle there, the room for maneuver is very limited. And you can see Primus fighters on the left-hand side outnumbering the ACG and Three Towers fighters. But there is another Primus fighter who has gone down, and ACG fighter has gone with him. So it's still fairly even. Oh, that's a big takedown there. Effective sweep. Primus now a lot more collected in their approach. Working not just on the strikes but also leg sweeps, which of course you can't see so much from this angle, but there are more white tabards trying to wear down the big Three Towers fighters. So, weapons lost on the marshals, of course, who have a difficult task of observing each of these moves. So there's a count on them, so big punches coming in from the Three Towers fighter. And that's a great move, and really the ACG fighter is at full stretch. So this is nice work now, good teamwork from Primus and Invicta on the right, and the round has been called. So, ACG taking the same line as they had the first time round, which was very, very effective. And already Primus fighters at a huge risk there has gone down straight away. Quite a careless, and a lot of bodies have gone down in the middle. However, the Primus fighters are bringing about the numbers, and there's a huge charge of coming into the middle there, putting the ACG and Three Towers fighters in a difficult position. Fighters now going down straight away. This looks to be quite a rapid round. And they are now locked against the side of the lists. In the bottom here, you can see that they're ACG fighters outnumbered by the Primus fighters. So, once again, a lot more collected. Even though there were early mistakes from Primus, there's another good takedown from a leg sweep on the right of the list. This means that you have these big Three Towers fighters remaining, and there's still a few ACG fighters quite loose, using the halberds to good effect. But again, with so many loose fighters on the ground, it's difficult to move quickly. Well, there haven't been many unforced. There is a great takedown on the left there from Primus, who are now well in control of this 12 versus 12 fight, and the marshal has called it. So as the marshal makes his count, we already know the result. And it's a similar result to the first time round. Primus and Invicta have taken the victory with 9 fighters. So, don't go away. We have got the last fight of the day coming up, which will be ACG and Three Towers against White Company of September back in the UK in November. There will be the Swords of Cygnus are hosting their own international tournament. That will be November. And already we're seeing more tournaments in Russia. There's already been a tournament in Italy. And there's a big charge here for this final fight of the day. And what a fitting tribute to this tournament. And the Three Towers and ACG are hammering into White Company. They do have the advantage of numbers, so White Company will have their work cut out, but they're a big team to go against, and that's a great takedown there. So already we have two of the fighters from ACG and Three Towers who have gone down. There's another one who has taken a knee, and this is good work here from White Company. And their strategy is paying off very rapidly indeed. And already we've got several fighters being taken down, and a great shot to the back there on the left-hand side of this. Huge rush come over for the side. The White Company, when they go for their rushes, they are much more careful. They do not charge them with knees. They go for strikes to certain parts of the armor first. And that is a first-round victory for White Company. Notice before how when you have charge from one side of this to the other, so already the marshals are ready for this second round, and there is a more cautious charge in the middle there, but the Three Towers are charging back, almost destroying part of the list there, thrusting the White Company fighter into them. Now there is some heavy skirmishes in the middle, but you've got three fighters now down on the left-hand side. This frees up the White Company fighters who are charging right back into the ACG fighters. Big strikes coming in, and there is a White Company fighter cornered in the bottom. This is much better work, and there is a loose armor, meaning the ACG fighter has to go out. And there's another thrust down. This is great work from White Company, who have seen the challenge come straight to them, and they've defended it well. They fought off the initial aggressive attack from ACG and Three Towers, and now they have the numbers and only a few remaining ACG and Three Towers fighters on their feet. And this is how the White Company fighters have taken control and won the fight. So that is it. White Company dominate this tournament in the 5 versus 5 and 12 versus 12. They were the favourites to win from the outset, and they've demonstrated exactly why they're favourites. But there's a lot of talent that can be seen here from other teams, in particular Three Towers.